14, 1 through 16. Then I looked, and behold, on Mount Zion stood the Lamb, and with him 144,000, who had his name and his Father's name written on their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven like the roar of many waters, and like the sound of thunder. The voice I heard was like the sound of a harpist playing on their harps. And they were singing a new song before the throne, and before the 4 living creatures, and before the elders. No one could learn that song except the 144,000 who had been redeemed from the earth. It is these who have not defiled themselves with women, for they are virgins. It is these who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These have been redeemed from mankind, as firstfruits for God and the Lamb. And in their mouth no lie was found, for they are blameless. Then I saw another angel flying directly overhead, with an eternal gospel to proclaim to those who dwell on earth, to every nation and tribe and language and people. And he said with a loud voice, "Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. And worship him who made heaven and earth, the sea and the springs of water." Another angel, a second, followed, saying, "Fallen, fallen is Babylon the great, she who made all nations drink of the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality." And another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, "If anyone worships the beast and its image, and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night. These worshippers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them." I'm going to stop there for a second. So we see here right off the bat, we have the beginning part of this section, verses 1 through 5. It shows us the blessedness of the redeemed. It gives us that beautiful picture of heaven with 144,000 being the completed elect, the complete church gathered in heaven. They're called the first fruits of the Lord. And they sing a new song that only they can sing, because only the elect can sing the song of salvation that God has given them. They have the Father's name written on them, signifying who they belong to. And they are virgins and blameless because they were redeemed by Christ and not defiled by the world. It doesn't literally mean that everybody in heaven is a virgin on a physical sense. It means that they are clean and undefiled. That because of what the Lamb has done, because the Lamb has washed them clean, they have no sins accounted to them anymore. Can you change the next slide for me? But just like in the last vision, where an angel proclaimed the good news of the coming judgment, it is proclaimed, we see that the eternal good news is proclaimed here again, because the hour of judgment has come, and Babylon the Great has fallen, the world. Another angel delivers the warning of those who follow Satan, that they will die with this world. But to those who keep the commandments of God in faith in Jesus Christ are blessed, even if they die for Christ, saying that it is good to die for Christ. And so we see the warning of the coming judgment, just like we saw in the last vision, where we saw the angel standing on the earth proclaiming that Christ is coming, that Christ's judgment is coming. We see that once again here. And then this leads us into the judgment itself, which is the last part of chapter 14. And I'll just read through it. Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and seated on the cloud one like a son of man, with a golden crown on his head, and a sharp sickle in his hand. And another angel came out of the temple, calling with a loud voice to him who sat on the cloud, "Put in your sickle and reap, for the hour to reap has come, for the harvest of the earth is fully ripe." So he who sat on the cloud swung his sickle across the earth, and the earth was reaped. Then another angel came out of the temple in heaven, and he too had a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, and the angel who had authority over the fire, and he called with a loud voice to the one who had the sharp sickle, "Put in your sickle and gather the clusters from the vine of the earth, for its grapes are ripe." So the angel swung its sickle across the earth and gathered the grape harvest of the earth and threw it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden outside the city, and blood flowed from the winepress as high as a horse's bridle for 1,600 stadia.
About 184 miles.
Yep. About 184 miles. So here we see the second coming and the judgment. We see it's described here, though, this time we see the judgment carried out as a twofold harvest. The first, we have Christ in the second coming, and he's described as harvesting. So he harvests the first fruits. He first harvests what belongs to him. This is his people, this being his second coming in the rapture. So this is Christ coming and taking his church, his people, what belong to him. But then we see the second harvest. The rest are being harvested, and the analogy that's being brought on here through harvesting is that they're like wines being put into a wine press, and their blood is poured out. And so this wine press is the wrath of God that's being poured out on them. And this is the representation of the judgment of God being poured out on these who are not a part of the first harvest. And it uses imagery here to explain or to describe the significance of it and how great and powerful this wrath is. That when the press is pressed, the blood is as high as a horse's bridle, and it pours for about 184 miles. Just giving you a large amount to show the amount of the wrath of this and how significant it is.